The Still Waters of Edstone Bay. A meditative tale of a forgotten lighthouse keeper, the sea, and the slow turning of time. They say the Edstone light was once the brightest eye along the coast, but now it blinks like a tired old man, half asleep, half remembering. On still mornings, when the fog drifts like breath over the gray Atlantic, I hear the faint groan of the lantern room above me, as if the tower itself were sighing. In those hours, before the sun touches the sea, time seems to forget itself. That is when I write. They say a man cannot live too long with the sea without becoming part of its silence. I did not believe that once. But now, when I wake before dawn and hear the tide breathing against the rocks below the tower, I sometimes wonder if my voice too has grown into the rhythm of the waves. I came to Edstone Bay 12 years ago, though time here does not pass as it does elsewhere. The world beyond the cliffs is a restless place. Trains, clocks, the whine of telephones, the ceaseless ticking of progress. But here, the only ticking comes from the old brass clock above the oil stove, and even that has learned to hesitate before each minute. The air tastes of salt and rust. The gulls speak in the same language as the wind. The lighthouse stands upon a slab of granite that rises like a broken tooth from the Atlantic. Its stones are older than the memory of the mainland. Men once quarried them with prayer, fearing the deep, fearing the things that move unseen beneath the green skin of the water. But the tower has stood through wars, storms, shipwrecks, and the slow erosion of meaning. And I, a man who once sought clarity in books, now keep watch for shadows in fog. I am not the first keeper here. The records, brittle, brown, written in hands both elegant and mad, mention others. One man vanished in 1873, leaving behind only his boots by the door and a cup of coffee gone cold. Another wrote in his final log entry, "There is someone knocking from below the sea." They called it isolation. The sea has other names for it. When I first arrived, I brought a few books: Emerson, Melville, a Bible I never opened, and a journal bound in leather. The journal is nearly full now. I fill its pages not with dates or weather, as a proper keeper should, but with observations of quieter things. The angle of light through fog, the way barnacles grow upon the stairs, the way a seal sometimes looks at me as if it remembers me from another life. Sometimes I write about the dreams. The dreams began in my second year. They come in gray tones, the color of driftwood and smoke. In them I walk through the lighthouse, but it is not the same. The walls breathe, the lantern hums, and somewhere below, beneath the floorboards, I can hear a slow, deliberate scratching, like something writing from the deep. I told no one. There is no one to tell.
The supply boat comes only once a month, if the weather allows. The man who pilots it, old Captain Reeve, speaks little. He unloads crates, mutters about the tide, and leaves with the same silence he brings. Sometimes, when he squints at me, I wonder if he knows something, if perhaps he too once heard the sea speak. There is a calm that settles upon this place in October. The fog no longer drifts. It rests, like a sleeping animal, soft and immense. The light from the lantern room pushes only a few yards into it before surrendering. On those nights, the sea and sky become indistinguishable. I can stand at the rail and feel as if I am adrift in nothing, suspended between worlds. It is in that nothing that I feel most awake. One evening not long ago, I saw a light far beyond the fog line, a pale flicker, steady as a heartbeat. At first I thought it a ship, but it did not move. It stayed for hours, glowing faintly, then vanished as dawn came. I noted it in the log, light upon the southern horizon, unmoving. But when I turned the page, I found that the same words had been written before, in another hand, years ago. The ink was faded, the date nearly lost. It seems the sea remembers everything, even what we forget. Sometimes, when the wind is still, I can hear what sounds like voices from the bay. Not cries or songs, but low murmurs, as if a conversation continues far below the waves. I have learned not to listen too closely. The first keeper, they say, went mad listening. The second, perhaps wiser, went deaf. In the mornings I polish the lantern glass. Each motion of the cloth feels like prayer, a slow circle, a quiet plea for clarity. The glass is old, thick, imperfect. If you look through it too long, the horizon bends. The sea becomes a soft curve of memory. Sometimes I wonder if I am still a man at all, or merely a reflection of the tower's loneliness. There was a gull today, perched on the railing beside the lamp. Its feathers were mottled with gray, its eyes the color of old coins. It did not move when I approached. For a long while we watched one another, two creatures of different worlds bound by the same silence. Then it opened its wings and glided into the fog, vanishing as if swallowed by thought. In that moment I envied it. Freedom and disappearance are perhaps the same thing. The logbook tells me it is Thursday, but that means nothing. The sea does not know Thursday. The sea knows only depth, hunger, stillness. Tonight the fog is thick again. I can hear the slow turn of the light above me, the heavy grind of gears, the soft hiss of oil flame. Somewhere far below, a wave breaks and reforms itself endlessly, like time replaying its own breath. I will write again when the fog clears, if it ever does. The sea has moods like a mind. It can remember, it can forget, and sometimes it dreams. The fog did not lift for 7 days. Or perhaps it lifted and returned, and I never noticed. Time had folded itself into one long gray breath. My world was reduced to the tower, the rocks, and the faint hum of the lamp above me. Beyond that, nothing, not even distance. On the 4th night, I began to hear a sound below the keeper's quarters. Faint, rhythmic, deliberate. At first, I thought it the sea working against the foundation stones, but no tide keeps such even tempo. It was more like the slow turn of a key, or a hand knocking gently from within the wall.
The tower's foundation descends deep, deeper than I had ever cared to explore. A narrow stair of rusted iron spirals downward past the supply level, the generator room, and then into damped stone. I had always kept the lower hatch locked, not from fear, but from habit. The older logs warned that the sea creeps through the cracks when the wind is from the east. Still, curiosity is a kind of hunger that grows in silence. That night I carried a lamp and the iron key down. The air grew colder with each step. My breath hung in the glow of the lantern like threads of smoke. The walls wept moisture. The sea's heartbeat pressed faintly against them, as though the tower itself had veins. When I reached the hatch, I hesitated. There was something about the air there, heavy, expectant, as if the room beyond had been waiting. The key turned smoothly. too smoothly for something untouched in years. Inside was not the machinery I expected. The room was circular, lined with shelves of glass jars. Some were filled with sand, some with small stones, and others, though I hate to describe them, contained what looked like fragments of paper suspended in yellowing fluid. On one wall hung a single brass plaque, tarnished but legible, for the memory of those who kept the light. The floor was wet. I could not tell if from the sea or from condensation. The lamp flickered, its flame straining against a draft that seemed to come from nowhere. Then I saw it. A door half swallowed by salt and time, set into the far wall. I knew immediately it led lower still. I returned to my quarters, but sleep would not come. The sea was too loud, not in volume, but in presence. It filled the room like thought. I dreamed again of the tower breathing. When I woke, my hands smelled faintly of brine and rust. Days passed, or nights. It is difficult to say which is which here. The fog continued its vigil. I began to read the old logs again, tracing the entries of the previous keepers. Many ended abruptly. But one dated August 18th, 1899, caught my eye. There is a passage beneath the old oil chamber. I have heard it open when the tide turns. The stones move as if remembering their purpose. If I do not return, let it be known, the sea has claimed its name back. Below it remembers. There was no further entry from that keeper. That night I went down again. The lower door was colder now, the metal slick with condensation. I pressed my ear against it. There was no sound, and then, faintly, a low murmur, like wind filtered through water. I could almost make out words, but not in any tongue I knew. My pulse followed the rhythm, slow, deliberate, ancient. I did not open the door. Instead, I climbed to the lantern room and sat beside the great lens. From that height, the sea below was invisible, only the fog, a luminous, living thing swirling in the glow of the lamp. I felt as though I were inside a cloud, dreaming of the ocean. And then I noticed something new, a figure, faint and still, standing upon the rocks near the base of the tower. It was too far to see clearly, yet the form was unmistakably human. A man, or what remained of one, tall, motionless, facing the sea. I called out, but my voice vanished into the fog. The figure did not move. When I looked again, it was gone. The next morning, I found footprints on the lower stair, wet, bare, leading upward from the direction of the door below. But I had locked it. The sea has begun to change its voice. It no longer crashes or sighs. It murmurs softly, as though speaking directly to the foundation stones. Sometimes in the night, I think I hear my name carried within the sound. It is not frightening. It is intimate, like a forgotten memory calling me home. I have begun to write less in my own journal and more in the old logbook. I feel closer to those who came before, the vanished keepers, the men who wrote half entries and left their boots by the door. Their handwriting varies, but the tone does not. They all grew quiet toward the end. Perhaps the sea teaches silence to those who listen long enough. This morning, when I descended to the oil room, I found something unexpected. One of the jars had fallen from the shelf and broken. Inside the shattered glass, among the yellowed fluid, was not paper, but a piece of skin, thin as parchment, with faint lines like writing etched into it. The letters were blurred, the ink leached by time, but I could make out 3 words. That phrase has not left me. It follows me through the corridors, hums in the turning of the lamp, echoes in the call of distant birds. Even now, as I write, I can feel a tremor in the floor, not from any storm, but from something deep within the stone. Perhaps I will open the door soon, not from curiosity this time, but from a sense of obligation. The sea, I think, is waiting for its story to continue, and I am merely the hand it has chosen to write with. Tonight, the fog is heavier than ever. The world outside has disappeared completely. The air smells of rain and iron. I can hear the slow beating of the light's rotation above, a pulse that syncs with my own. If I listen closely, I can almost hear another rhythm beneath it, slower, deeper, older, like a heart that has been sleeping under the tide. I will go below at dawn. End of Part 2. The Rooms Beneath the Tide.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Don't forget to hit the notification bell